Morning, everyone. Hope you're all well on this Friday morning. What a beautiful week we've had weather-wise. Hope you've all been getting your 1 hour of exercise and managing to get some vitamin D. This week's task is called Objects of Desire. So this is looking at creating a bit of a collage of objects that are personal to you. Collect some personal artifacts and arrange them and then take a photograph. So this is a bit like a photo essay. So we're going to see kind of this montage of, as I say, personal objects that give an indication into kind of your personality and who you are, what you like and what you do. So here's an example of stuff that I took. So you can see here I've got my beloved Sheffield Wednesday shirt, and I chose this one out of quite a few that I've got because this really, the blue and white stripes, this is kind of synonymous with Sheffield Wednesday colours, and that means a lot to me, as does this ring. So I lost my dad a few years ago, and that's kind of very personal to me. So these are things that I hold quite dear to my heart. I've got my nice little synthesizer, which is a Arturia Micro Freak noisemaker, which is great. I love kind of dabbling and making music. Another thing associated to football is my one of my football trainers. I like how you've probably seen in the videos I've been wearing kind of retro football shirts, so I love kind of collecting football memorabilia, and I like kind of things around design and traditional kind of design of things that, like, Adidas boots and all the kind of retro gear. I've also got my cycling cap, which was designed by a lady called Pip, who lives locally in Warrington. She's a cyclist and a designer. Some really nice work. And lastly, the Murakami book, is one of my favourite authors. And if you've not kind of delved into his wonderful world, it's absolutely, I don't know, it just really kind of resonates with me personally. And because Bailey was in on the act, my cat, he wanted me to do one of his, so he's got his water bowl, which he likes, his favourite toy with a feather on the end, which is kind of the bane of my life at the minute because he loves playing with it, and his cat treats as well, obviously. Who doesn't like cat treats? Also, at the end of this video, I'll be reviewing last week's task, which was me, myself and I. So for anyone interested, Objects of Desire, I've taken this from a book by an author called Adam Forty, and his book is about design, really, and how design has an impact on society, and how what we collect in terms of designer objects and things reflects really who we are. Well, it's that time again to do a little bit of a review. We just go on to the albums for this week. So again, there's a link to the album in the Flickr discussion, me, myself and I. And you can then see some of the other albums from the past couple of weeks. So 4 galleries now. So last week's was me, myself and I. Quite a challenging one, I think. It's the challenge in itself to kind of look at ourselves is potentially precarious and quite difficult. So I'm pleased that you've thought creatively about how to do this. It wasn't really intended to just be kind of a selfie thing, although it's a bit of a take on that as well. And if you're like me, you're not really kind of on the old social media and taking pictures of yourself and stuff, so it's a little bit, like I say, challenging to do that and set that up. But we'll delve into it. Again, I've chosen 10 photos from the uploads in the photo pool. So it was great. Again, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Above anything else, it was just nice to see your faces. Mr. Guy Sankey, again, as I said at the start, I'm pleased that you've kind of taken this to the next level almost and thought more abstractly about how you can capture portraits of yourself. So this is great. Through this door or this window pane, which because of the effect in the window has created, we can still see it's Guy, but that's such a great effect. Really good. There's quite a few like that from Guy and from Steph especially, who've really thought about using reflective objects and things that create interesting patterns, and not only create interesting patterns like this, but Steph's, but there's a symbolism behind that as well. So if you kind of look closely, you can tell that is that's actually the reflective surface of the bottom of an iron, and the title there, "A Woman's Work is Never Done." Really clever to capture the self-portrait, and again, that's kind of brought your eye not only to Steph there, but the meaning and symbolism about what that selfie means. So it's that extra, I guess, the extra level of, as we talked about with kind of the street photography stuff, what can you capture within that image that really kind of tells a story and has some context to it. So that's fantastic. Mr. John Allen, I love this one. Again, we can kind of see some of the settings for this because he's managed to create this lovely, this cropped out black background, and the black and white works so well. And the detail it draws out in black and white is just beautiful. That distinctive kind of grey, white-ish stubble there from John. Those of you who know him, quite a distinctive look, but works so well in this. Draws out the features really nicely, and the standout bit, the eyes, of course, the way that the contrast from the black frame shows that reflection from the light source is just brilliant. Draws you straight into that kind of that top third there. So really good composition as well, and just works so nicely. It's a stark selfie. It's a challenging one, but it works really, really nicely. Thank you for that. Guy again. I mentioned for the past couple of weeks about Guy and his use of mirrors, so I'm glad he's taken a few with that. And I guess I'm going to say this was intentional, Guy. I like that you're out of focus with that. We can tell we've got this cropping of the mirror, so we can tell we're looking at you through a reflection. But I think that because you're blurred, just, I don't know, it adds quite interesting meaning to that. Like I say, was that intentional? Is it a fact of that's kind of saying something about looking in a mirror maybe? I don't know, it's a personal one to you, so I can't cast aspersions, but it resonates, so I get some kind of meaning from it, and I like that. Same with this, with Vanessa's. It's very clever because we've got kind of multiple kind of reflections through things. So we've got taking the photo of herself through the phone into a mirror, but she's set a camera up to capture that process. And what I really love is this. We've got the self-portrait, we've got the distinctive thing that makes that kind of personal connection for us, which is the eyes, and she's caught that in the phone. I just think that works so well. Really, really good image. Some nice comments there as well. Very clever. Steph, you've uploaded some great ones again. We saw the iron, and I love this. hard to see, but I think that again is the idea, because we're looking at your reflection in such a small object, but we can see that it's you. It's almost like a painting. I think it works really nicely. Yeah, it's really clever. Send in your other superlatives for James this week instead of nice. It's clever. Vanessa. Me. Yeah, and that's that literal kind of take on this, which was the selfie thing. And I like the reflectiveness of looking at portraits of yourself, and they obviously mean something, because look, all the journey and the travel there. I think that's nice. Again, nice to kind of reflect back and look at things that you've done in that sense. So that works well. Great one, Steph. Again, use of reflection and black and white, I think, works really well to create that kind of abstract portrait through the looking glass. Again, you're playing on that kind of you looking at yourself in a way, and which is what this challenge was about. Kath, I think this is really nice, just because of, as you've seen there, dappled by light in a way. I really like the way the lights come through the trees and the branches and the leaves to create these. And does it mirror the camouflage on the jacket in a way, and it creates that effect? I don't know. I'm saying that was intentional, and I think it works really well in terms of composition. So yeah, a really good shot. And the last one from our Steph. Good use of kind of hair there to cover and obscure the self-portrait. Very grainy as well. It's kind of like an old, kind of retro black and white, high grain contrast image. So I think that's really nice. A nice end to that. And again, there were loads more in this photo pool, and I appreciate it was, it's challenging in itself to kind of look at yourself, the self-portrait. So I'm really pleased that you took it on board, and again that you've been so creative in looking at how you can kind of maybe capture yourselves in self-portrait. Top job. See you next week. Look forward to what you come up with this week's Objects of Desire. Thanks again. Bye.